Welcome to the Genius Way Show with your host, Ben Hummell. The aim of this show is to provide education, encouragement, and insights for people who are on their own personal development journeys. As a psychotherapist, teacher, author, and creator of the Genius Way process, Ben will focus on identifying common challenges to living a purposeful life, and will share valuable psychological and spiritual tools to help you make healthy and empowering life changes. We hope you enjoy the show.
Hey friends, welcome to the Genius Way Show. I'm your host, Ben Hummell. Here we are again this week talking about something really important in terms of personal development and being on your personal life journey. And that is how to find your unused potential. So what does that even mean? What is our unused potential? So one of the things we start out with when we're explaining this idea here, this concept of unused potential, is the fact that we are all born with a set of genius qualities. Like I spoke about last week, our genius DNA. We're kind of pre-programmed at birth with qualities and ideas and gifts and talents that are unique and particular to us, that exist in potential, in potentia, right? And so these things can happen. These things that we have can be expressed. They want to be expressed. They're poised to be expressed. They're poised to be kind of unwound out of us, right? But they don't necessarily. There's no rule that says they have to be expressed, right? And so these things that we're born with are our potential, and each part of this potential is actually part of the potential of the world, the existence that we live in, the universe we live in at large. It's part of the universe's potential too. So there's like an impersonal part of this personal potential. Hope that makes sense. So as we're looking for our personal fulfilling self-expression in our lives, the first thing that shows up usually is the feeling of not expressing it. That's how we notice the unused potential first, is by us not expressing it. So what do I mean by that? So if you look anywhere on the internet or in the self-help section of in bookstores or anywhere you look in terms of, personal development, you're going to find this idea of people being and feeling stuck. And there's a gazillion ways to help people not feel stuck. But what is this kind of, universal feeling that happens to humans of stuckness? What is that? Why is that there? Why do humans feel stuck in the first place? What brings that about? And so everybody's got a different idea of where that stuckness comes from, what to do about it, but I want you to think about it today in this way. The stuckness is only perceptible because there's part of us that isn't stuck or that flows, that moves, okay? When it's not moving, we notice it in the form of, oh, this stuckness, this non-moving part, this non-flowing aspect of my life doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. It's definitely not fulfilling. It's not satisfying. There's a feeling like, oh, there's something wrong here. Like something is stopped. Something is kind of, blocked. And those feelings that don't feel good are pointing to the fact that something in us knows that something should be moving. Something in us knows that stuckness isn't our nature, right? Individually, it's just not our nature. Something should flow, should move. Something should be, newly expressed. And so the first indication of how to find that unused potential is to look no further than whatever feels stuck in you. because that's where your system is pointing out, hey, this is where the attention needs to go. This feeling, this area, this needs to be looked at, because here is where something should be moving and flowing. And this is where creativity should be coming out, but it's not. So take a look at this. So, the feeling of stuck means it's not your nature. It's not how you should be, feeling and living, because it doesn't feel good. If the opposite were true, if being stuck in any kind of rut, psychological, mental, emotional, spiritual, if that was your natural state, how do you think it would feel? It would feel pretty good. I'm stuck in this pattern. I can't really get out of it. I can't really make any progress on my goals, but I don't care, because this feels normal to me, right? If it didn't feel weird, it would be our natural state. If it didn't feel, not good in some way, we could take that as a message that I'm okay. I'm okay right there. Okay, so that's the first sign that something is not our potential, is when we're feeling this doesn't feel right. So the question is, how do you go from noticing that this isn't feeling right, this feeling of being stuck, this feeling of being stagnant, of not being able to express something that's really important to my system, to my basic sense of self? How do you go from that to actually expressing it, to actually working through it, to actually moving to a point where things start flowing again? Okay, so one of the reasons why we don't get out of our stuckness is because we are not willing to do whatever it takes to move past it. We make excuses. We hang on to the stuckness as if that's our new story. In other words, my story isn't I'm feeling stuck and I need to get out of it. It's I'm feeling stuck and I can't get out of it and I don't know what to do. So that's a story. All right. So when someone is feeling stuck, they're going to do, and they really don't want to be stuck, they're going to do anything to get out of it. Okay. Anything. They're going to wiggle in this way. They're going to try this other course. They're going to take a trip. They're going to change their eating habits. They're going to do anything to get out of that. So take a look at your life. Look at any place where you're feeling stuck and see, where am I in that process? Am I holding on to the story? I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. And that's it. Like, that's my story. It's a likely story, but I'm sticking to it. Right? Are you in that place, or are you in the place where you're like trying whatever? Okay. So, trying whatever, what do I mean by that? I mean, when you don't know what to do, you can either try something else or sit down and not try something else because you are stuck. Okay. So if you accept the idea of, well, I'm stuck and I don't know what to do and that's all I can do, then that's where you'll stay. When there is one little other thing, one little other potential for you to get unstuck that you can kind of see and actually give it a try, to try one little thing, that's usually the time where that line that you have to cross to get unstuck and to move, to flow, is very close to you. When you have the awareness of how it feels to be stuck, the line over which you are no longer stuck is very, very close to you. Okay. And it's speaking to you. And there's not one solution for anybody who feels stuck. Everyone's got a different one, because everybody's stuck in a different place. Everybody, is stuck, and then they're not stuck, and then maybe they get stuck again. But what we got to do as people who are on a journey, you're on like this hero's journey of your own life, is to learn the process, no matter what sticks us in the mud, how to get out of each one of those things. And it's not a bunch of different tools. It's just the same. It's being willing to do what it takes in that predicament to keep moving. Okay. At one point in my life, I went through a time where I was pretty depressed. And, I am a psychotherapist, so I do know what depression is because I've been there. And one thing that I would do, just as a symbolic, getting unstuck, is to kind of come out of that depressed state. I would draw a line, like I'd be in the backyard, and I would draw a line in the dirt. And I would practice. I put some music on, and I would practice kind of dancing a little bit and then moving over that line every day. So what that would do for me is symbolically, that's the line over which I would feel like, yes, I'm coming back to myself. My heart is opening up. I'm seeing possibilities. I'm becoming more open to solutions. And I would practice dancing over that line a little bit and a little bit more every day, just so I could like embody that notion of getting out of this kind of dead and stuck place. Okay. So what is that? I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? I draw a line in the ground and I step over it. But that's what was occurring to me at the time. And I really wanted to get better. I really wanted to feel better. I wanted my life to move again, So I did that thing, and I am happily no longer depressed, and I worked out of that, not just from that, but that was one thing I was doing as a symbolic act. So if you can identify where you're stuck in your life, or where that feeling of stuckness or stagnancy is, and, try whatever you can for that specific thing to move it, to change it, to massage it, to trick yourself out of it, whatever it is. This is where you get creative, and this is where your genius is going to help you, is because your genius doesn't have any desire to remain stuck, because it is your true potential expression, self-expression in your lifetime. Okay. It is the opposite of being stuck. It's always finding a crack in the wall to flow through. So when you're in that stuck place, it's important to try and find your, that one little thing that can move, like in my example there of like stepping over that line into the next phase of my life. So, all right, let's take a little break. Look at this video that illustrates this point a little bit more. And when we come back, we're going to dig in more deeply about how to realize your kind of unlimited potential.
What I wish I knew at 12 instead of 22, that feeling of anxiety, it's actually your hidden potential itching to break free. Here's the thing, those anxious feelings, they're not just random. They're signals, a nudge from your inner genius whispering, hey, it's time to shine. Imagine your anxiety as a messenger. It's telling you there's something incredible inside you, waiting to be unleashed. Those feelings of worthlessness, they're just misplaced energy that could fuel your greatest achievements. When we embrace our true potential, we find self-worth, not because we were lacking, but because we were overflowing. Life purpose? It's not lost, it's just buried under layers of doubt. Unearth it, and you'll discover a life rich with meaning. So next time anxiety knocks, answer with curiosity. Your true potential is calling, and it's ready to turn your life into something extraordinary. You've got this. Now go unlock your hidden genius.
So in a real way, becoming unstuck, realizing your unused potential is more about like refusing to quit. It's about not accepting something that is not up to your standards or your potential. It's not accepting that as the outcome. Okay, so while we're here, before we take that big dirt nap at the end of our lives, while we're here, obviously we're here to express something and express something in particular that is important as our individual contribution. To me, that is just self-evident. And it's not about whether you're good enough or whether you are, people are watching you. It's not about that. It's about becoming really, really good at being yourself, whatever this is, really good at it, so that you are not depriving the world of, who you are as this individual piece of self-expression that's expressed by the universe. I know that's a long-winded explanation, but I really, really, really believe that very, very sincerely. And so when you're in that place, when you realize that your individual self-expression is part of this big collective whole, and it plays a part, that it's necessary for it to be out there, you're not going to put up with just being stuck. You're just not going to accept it, because it's like saying, I'm crossing this bridge, and now I feel, well, I don't know where this bridge is going, so I'm just going to sit down here and kind of live here. Okay, because the bridge doesn't seem to be going anywhere. We don't get to do that. While we're in this life, we're passing from one spot to the other. Nobody can stop. And so same thing is when you're realizing your genius potential, there's no place to stop. We have to keep moving, because there's a flow to our lives. When we're in that flow, when we're moving with it, when we are conscious of it and participating with it, we're happy. When we're not, we are not happy. Okay? When we're in that stagnant mode, like, okay, I'm just going to sit here on the bridge, watch everybody else go by, and just kind of wonder why my life is so terrible, we're not happy. Okay? So this is a place where we keep moving. So in my first book, Summoning Genius, where I write about midlife and genius, I came up with a cheeky little syndrome idea that explains this phenomenon of not living your potential or not realizing your potential. And I call it genius deprivation syndrome. Okay? GDS, genius deprivation syndrome. And so I know that sounds really silly and everything, but it's actually not. So I'm going to read this part to you to illustrate this idea of unrealized potential a little bit further. Okay? So from Summoning Genius. If we look at what happens to the human brain from oxygen deprivation, we know that in most cases, brain cells begin to die after 1 minute of no oxygen supply. And after 3 minutes of not breathing, our bodies usually die altogether. So this is a very small window of time to be without an essential life-sustaining element before some kind of permanent damage is done. This fact also suggests that we are interdependent beings that count on a myriad of conditions continuously that are occurring for us in just the right way and in the correct proportions. These conditions are provided for us so consistently that they go generally unnoticed and unappreciated. Air, water, light, darkness, and the functions of the immune system and other bodily systems are all freely provided and performing perfectly without taking any credit or demanding our acknowledgement. As human beings, we also have the need for meaning and purpose. We can fool ourselves into thinking that these are merely electives or low-level priorities, since their absence doesn't kill brain cells or lead to physical death. But meaning and purpose, which are the products of making space for our genius expression, are intrinsic to our inner lives. Fortunately, if we discover that we have a genius deprived and that a part of our interiority has died, we can activate the phoenix-like nature of consciousness that resurrects itself from the ashes of our previous identities. We may carry the experience of our youthful selves having died from a lack of creativity and personal expression, but when we acknowledge our genius spirit and we give it room to move, We are born and live again regardless of how dark and deep our graves have been. So here are the symptoms of the genius deprivation syndrome: a weak libido or life force, depression, anxiety, feeling stuck in an unrewarding job, career, feeling that something important is missing from your life, feelings of purposelessness, and a lack of life meaning. The need for our genius expression in midlife has never been greater. Our genuine callings are seeking expression through us, and if we continue to deprive ourselves of them or to confuse their signals to us with some sort of illness, we will continue to suffer. Since it's natural to want to put an end to our suffering, we can thank the uncomfortable feelings associated with genius deprivation syndrome for being a motivating force for lasting personal change. And seen. Okay? So it is not a natural state to be without the power of this expressive self, to not be expressing the potential that you have in your inborn genius qualities. Okay? So as I was reading that list of things that are associated with that, syndrome that I came up with, did you recognize any in your life? Did you recognize any of those things, that you experience kind of on a regular basis? So if so, you want to pay attention to those things and address them so that that's not your epitaph. It's not written on your tombstone. Well, this guy was stuck, or this woman was stuck and didn't do anything about it. Just kind of stayed stuck, stayed feeling stagnant, right? That doesn't have to be you. And so what's important about this is that your genius, which is kind of the foundation of your expressive self, it doesn't want you to be stagnant either. And so when you're feeling yourself rejecting that feeling of stagnancy or feeling bad about it, realize that your genius is actually kind of rebelling against that itself. And it will call your attention to it over and over and over again so that you pay attention and shift it and move it. And either you get the help that you need, you try something new, try something else again if that didn't work. You just kind of keep going and realize that, I just say it in this way, existence is behind you making that change. And again, I'm not trying to sound religious about this at all. I'm just saying it's a function of consciousness to flow, to move, to not be stuck. And when we are literally stuck and we're feeling not well, sick, like I was describing, like lacking air and what happens to our brain, we feel it when there's a lack of self-expression from the potential that we have, that we're born with to express ourselves. When we're not expressing it, that's something unhealthy about that. When we're not being ourselves and developing our awareness of who we are and sharing it with the world, there's something that's not healthy about that. And we feel it. And our genius calls attention to it so that we can start moving it again. So we can start letting it flow and kind of, help it to kind of get expressed, So anyway, this is a really important topic and something that, when you're working with the Genius Way and the Genius Way process, this is how we help get you moving again and get you to realize what actually is in your individual genius, right? So let's do this. Let's have a short commercial break, and then I'm going to come back on the other side with a guided journey for you to look into where your genius wants to help you to get unstuck, and we'll kind of work through that process a little bit today. Does that sound good? All right. I'll see you on the other side. Hey guys, I'm really excited to let you know that I'm finishing up my new course, the Genius Way Process course. This course is for anyone who wants to discover what's in their genius, their inborn gifts, their talents, and their callings. In this course, I'm going to provide you with the 10 life skills that we all need to access our individual genius and to make it a part of our everyday life. If you'd like to know more about the Genius Way Process course and when it's available, go to thegeniusway.com and sign up to get notified. I can't wait to share this with you. Close your eyes and take a deep breath in and then deeply exhale. Imagine that you're walking through your childhood home. As you make your way through the different rooms, you come upon a door that you don't remember being there. You open the door and walk inside. This is a room filled with everything about you. There are photos, old toys and possessions, sounds and smells from your birth and childhood. You look around, and on one shelf you see a book entitled Your Genius Potential. This is the book where all of your genius qualities, talents, gifts, and callings that you were born with are written. Open the book and look inside. What do you see written there? Now, as you're reading about your inborn genius, you notice there are calendar dates written next to them as to when you can express these genius qualities. You notice that many of these dates are in the past. Take a moment to notice if you actually have expressed these aspects of your genius self in the past according to these dates. If you haven't, try to notice how the potential to express them is still within you. How does this unexpressed potential feel to you? Now look at an entry for today's date. What genius quality is listed for you to express today? See one way that you can express this aspect of your genius today and to use this potential that you currently have. Remember that when you notice the feeling of having unused potential, it's a message from your genius to create a way to express it in your life. And now, with this experience fully intact in your awareness, and when you're ready, open your eyes and come back into this room. So, one of the three sayings that was inscribed in the Temple of Apollo at Delphi in Greece is know thyself. You've probably heard that. Know thyself. What does that even mean? When it comes to realizing your kind of unused potential, your unrealized potential, know thyself means, in this case, what do I have within me in potential that needs to be expressed? You know, what did I bring with me? What is past my self-judgment and, my wounding and my psychological trauma? What is past that? What's basic in me before any of those things have happened, right? Because each one of us has a set of expressive elements to share with the world. And so knowing thyself, knowing oneself in this way is what the Genius Way process is all about. It's about knowing what's in your genius, knowing what gifts you brought with you through a series of, exercises and lessons and life skill learnings. You discover lots of things about your genius. And the trick is, after that point, to start using them as my self-expression, as knowing myself, what works for me, what doesn't, and so forth. Okay, so know thyself is a great motto to keep coming back to, because there's like an infinite amount of things to know. But as you're doing that, as you're learning about that, you will start knowing, when you're digging into your genius journey, your genius way, your genius path, you're going to start learning different aspects of your genius that transcend your personality and your psychology. They're just there. They are your gifts. And in order to kind of like live a really fulfilling life, it's important to know what those gifts are and give them, right? And so one of the examples I keep bringing up here is that, sometimes to give the gifts that you have to place yourself or create a framework in which to give those things. Okay, like for instance, if you find that your gift is working with animals and I have a friend that just loves cats and has spent a lot of her life going around and creating no-kill rescue centers for cats and lobbying for that in different communities and so forth. And so that feels incredibly worthwhile to this person. And in order to do that, she had to get out of her house and go and start contributing at the rescue shelter, right? The animal shelter. And then realizing, whoa, I don't want to just take care of cats. I want to make sure that they aren't killed. I want to find them homes. And so this small love of cats turned into this kind of really beautiful, big, rewarding expression for her. Okay, so you start by moving a little bit. Oh, I like cats. Let me go down to the shelter. And you find out more and more and more about that thing, and your self-expression comes out. And this person now, my friend who loves cats, knows I'm very good at being an animal advocate. I'm really good at that. I know how to do it. My passion is there. My genius is there, meaning I have energy behind this issue that is past what I think I can do, and it kind of just comes out. So she's created a framework in which she's able to express that part of her genius. Does that make sense? So as you go through and learn more about your genius and more about how the fund of your unrealized potential for self-expression is there. When you learn more about that, it's important to see the next step of how do I express that in the world? How do I do that? And all you need to do is take one step towards it. One step. If I want to write poetry, what's the next step for you? It might be going out to a poetry reading. It might be buying a poetry book. It might be taking a class in poetry. It might be finding, exposing yourself to different types of poetry. I don't know. But whatever occurs to you, that step is the next important one. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, the writer of The Little Prince, the author of The Little Prince, said, what saves a person is to take a step and then another step. It's always the same step, but you have to take it. And so I'll say the same thing to you here. If you want to realize your unrealized potential, you have to take a step. Doesn't have to be a big one. Doesn't have to be a monumental one. It could seem very insignificant, but if you take that step, you're going to learn something else, and it'll lead to your next step and the next step and the next step. Okay? All right, good. So let's take another small commercial break, and on the other side, I'll come back with some words of inspiration to send you into your week. See you then.
Ben Hummell's writing comes from a deep well of experience, practice, and wisdom. The Genius Way teaches you the life skills you need to find your own unique genius. Summoning Genius helps readers to turn a midlife crisis into an opportunity for personal growth. You can find Ben's books on thegeniusway.com, Amazon, and most online booksellers.
Do you know what unrealized potential feels like? Sometimes it's a feeling of frustration or self-doubt or a sense of purposelessness. But it's important to remember that these feelings can only exist because of the reality of the unexpressed potential in the first place. As you begin to see these uncomfortable feelings as messengers that your genius wants to be expressed, your identification changes from being a person who's stuck to being an explorer of your own self-expression, where every effort takes you further along on your own genius way. And that's our show for this week. Thank you so much for dropping by. I enjoy spending this time with you as usual. So here is your weekly self-inquiry journal prompt. Write about a place where you feel stuck in your life and brainstorm what the next step is to expressing your genius potential. Okay, write about a place where you feel stuck in your life and brainstorm what the next step is to expressing your genius potential. You got it? Good. So, until next week, guys, stay curious, be kind to yourself, and remember that your genius has something to say.
Thanks for watching The Genius Way Show with Ben Hummell. Make sure to visit thegeniusway.com for the resources you need to help you on your personal life journey. You can contact Ben at ben@thegeniusway.com. And you can follow The Genius Way with Ben Hummell on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Thanks for streaming The Genius Way Show with Ben Hummell.